Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, OnBase Upgrade Essentials, Preparing for Success. There are a lot of great content to share with everyone today. Today's presenters, we have Brian Carl and Matt Ehde from the Customer Success Advisor team. We're happy to be doing this presentation and sharing some information about how to be successful in your next upgrade. Taking a look at today's agenda, we're going to talk through why you should be upgrading, kind of around the cadence of how often you should be upgrading, talking about some common barriers that we see with customers, just sharing this amongst each other to make sure we're prepared for the next upgrade. Then we'll talk through Naviant's upgrade process, looking at version life cycles, and then going into what's new, sharing a little bit about what we've seen in the last few versions of OnBase that will be exciting to share with everyone. So, without further ado, we'll jump into things and talk about why we need to upgrade. Of course, I've heard from customers before. We're on this version of OnBase. Nothing's broken, everything works just great. But so why do we need to upgrade? That's an understandable question to have. Certainly, but there's a lot of things that happen from version to version, or if you're looking at jumping several versions, there's going to be a lot of great enhancements and updates. But just taking a look at kind of the common pieces or the common reasons to upgrade. The first being new and improved functionality. Upgrading really enables you to take advantage of the latest products and enhancements to equip your organization with better access to the content and processes that drive your business. You're going to see a lot of great benefits from the most up-to-date user experiences, and then you can gain access to the latest configuration tools for better administration and innovations to your solution as well. The next reason that we believe you should upgrade is updated compatibility. As we know, technology is always advancing, and different vendors and technology providers are making rapid changes to their products. And each new release of OnBase supports those advancements, whether that's for the latest browsers, operating systems, and new or expanding integrations with different business applications. An up-to-date OnBase is going to ensure that compatibility. Reason number 3, security and faster performance. Today, the cost of a data breach is in the multi-millions of dollars, and breach can have an impact on your business's reputation, or there's the potential for lost revenue as well. So staying current on security is paramount, and really Highland does a great job of continually testing and evaluating OnBase against the latest threats. Every release cycle includes the latest security patches to ensure you meet your current compliance requirements and really helps you reduce risks as well. Additionally, there's patches and software changes to ensure optimal performance. This keeps your users productive ultimately. And the last reason to upgrade is platform modernization. The OnBase platform continues to be modernized and extended to new places, and having access to new features allows you to continuously improve upon your existing solution and extend the OnBase footprint across your enterprise. So really, regular upgrades maximize the value of the OnBase investment and helps future-proof your system as well. Now that we've talked about why to upgrade, we want to shift gears and bring attention to some of the reasons upgrades aren't always completed. Seen in this slide here, we have some of those common barriers. First, we'll start with policy or governance. It's pretty common for organizations to have policies in place around when you can upgrade enterprise applications, or perhaps there's no defined policy at all. Really establishing this will set your organization up for success, no matter what that cadence or policy says, because you can go into each new year kind of knowing if you're going to upgrade, and it's going to keep your whole organization on the same page. One of the next barriers that we see is risk. I think it's obvious that there's inherent risk involved with performing an upgrade of an enterprise application. No one wants to be on the cutting edge of a new version. We really want to see some stability in a new release as well. Common risk that we see. Obviously, if something goes wrong, there's a risk of interrupting users, your business processes, and system productivity. So even when you defer upgrades for a long period of time, the delta between versions becomes even greater, and that next upgrade becomes even more complex. So as your organizations are having these conversations, I think it's beneficial to know that Navient prefers to upgrade our internal OnBase system before recommending it to our customers. This really allows us to identify any potential issues and properly document them for when we're performing our customer upgrades. With that kind of on the number of upgrades that we've done between 2023 and 24, we've completed over 150 customer upgrades. We see a lot during these upgrades, and we make notes to share information amongst our different teams to make sure that the next upgrade is even smoother. So again, to kind of throw that in with that section, as your organization's having kind of those internal conversations around policy and risk, I think it's worth noting our experience there. The next set of barriers really involves around kind of resource constraints, and it can come in many different forms. First one being a knowledge gap, particularly if you're a new admin, taking on your first upgrade can be daunting until you really have the opportunity to familiarize yourself with the process and your solution as well. As we're performing upgrades with you, we really encourage admins to be involved and to learn kind of the steps of an upgrade. Probably the most common barrier we see is time. Major constraint. I think we're all looking for more of it, especially as we're asked to do more with less. Tied in with time is obviously scheduling. All organizations have a busy season, and we compete with holidays, vacations, things of that nature. So getting an upgrade on the calendar can be awfully difficult at times. Well, the next barrier is just having people. As admins, we notify business units we support, and we have to make them aware when an upgrade is coming, because we have to ensure their availability for testing. The infrastructure folks are very important upgrades as well, making sure that they get involved. So again, we have different departments around the organization being involved in these upgrades, and that can be troublesome at times. One of the other considerations is budget. We know funds is a major part of any upgrade or keeping an application running. Really kind of appropriating funds during the year, making those available can be a barrier. Worth noting, if you have your Naviant SLA, you have 35 hours to apply towards your upgrade. And the last barrier is priorities. You're looking at competing projects. If you're looking to expand your solution, or even an implementation of another enterprise app like an ERP can shift resources elsewhere. That can obviously push an upgrade off. But really, if any of these barriers really impact your ability to complete upgrades in a timely fashion, we do have options for managed services to aid in staff augmentation or taking on the upgrade itself. I think it's also worth noting that migrating to the Highland Cloud is an attractive option for customers. This really allows the responsibility to just shift to testing your solution during those upgrades. The infrastructure component is kind of taken care of, as well as many of the other technical pieces. But ultimately, with any of these barriers, many of them can be overcome through proper planning and establishing a roadmap for your upgrades. With Naviant as your partner, we can do that together. It's just a matter of kind of having conversations around that. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Brian to talk through Naviant's upgrade process.
Thanks, Matt. So I'm going to run everyone through the upgrade process. And step one, I'm sure we have a decent amount of people here who have been on a few of these, is the upgrade planning call. So like Matt said on the previous slide, we've done so many upgrades just within the last year that we've really honed in on this planning call. It's really, really important to the entire process. This is where we're going to bring in a technical expert from our upgrade team to hop on a call and just scope out what it'll take to get your system up to the latest and greatest version. Our team has created, it's what we call the upgrade checklist that they're going to go through with you. So they'll go over what your infrastructure currently looks like, if you have a test environment and if it needs to be refreshed, what we want the testing plan to entail so you can be confident when it's time to go live. Any products that may or may not be compatible with whatever version of OnBase that we're planning to move to. So for example, your servers might need to be upgraded from 2015 to 2019. But on the next slide, we actually have a timeline of what the actual project work will look like. So we're going to start off with kickoff call. That's between our project team and your team, the OnBase users, just to go over obviously the plan as a whole. How are we going to get upgraded? We're going to get a regular communication cadence set up, as well as answer any questions that you may have about the process as a whole. But then we're going to move to the actual upgrade piece, and we're going to have your users test and approve the solution. This is really, really important. You're going to hear this a lot from me throughout this webinar. Testing is very, very important to us. That's a huge step. But once the testing is complete and we're ready to go live, we will take it's estimated 4 to 6 hours. I'll go through that on a slide here coming up. But after we do go live, we're going to make sure that our project team, our engineers, they're ready to be on call for any support needed post go live. But there are some prerequisites needed for on your side before we upgrade our test solution. Here, there's just 5 bullet points here that I'll go through. Number one is super important. It is number one for a reason. It's making sure that you have downloaded the Hyland OnBase installation software from Hyland community page. If you don't know where it is, reach out to a CSA, reach out to someone on the project team, reach out to your account manager. Any one of us can point you in the right direction there. But another one is making sure that any third-party applications are upgraded and they're on a version that's compatible with whatever version of OnBase we're going to. Like I said on the previous slide, we're going to go through that entire process with you on the upgrade planning call. That's why it's part of our upgrade checklist. But a backup of your database and disk groups are also 2 tasks that we highly recommend. And then lastly, make sure an export of settings in test that are not in production is completed. So obviously we have some test upgrade prereqs, but we also have some prod upgrade prereqs for you as well. First one, same as last time, just to make sure to download those installation files from community. And like I said, if you don't know where it is, we can totally help you out with that. But next is reviewing the changes we made in the test environment to make sure everything is working fine, working to your liking before going to production. Obviously, that's testing, and you're going to hear that, like I said, a lot from me here. But we also want to make sure that your database backups are current and available to us upon request. And just like the last slide, make sure your third-party apps are updated and ready to go. But last, certainly not least, testing is completed. Testing, testing, testing. You're going to hear that a lot throughout the process, but it is for a reason. We want to make sure you're comfortable with the amount of testing that's done before moving to production, but we also want to make sure that we're comfortable with the amount of testing done. You might think that you're done with testing, but there could be a few hiccups along the road that we've seen in prior upgrades that we want to make sure is ready for when we do go live. But what will an upgrade schedule look like? First question we always ask is, what is the date restrictions that you have? When do you need to be upgraded? Is there a certain date that you need to be upgraded by? Obviously, the entire schedule is going to depend on if that's the case. So that's always the first question we start with. But the test upgrade, as well as the prod upgrade, they both take about 4 to 6 hours to complete. Obviously, depending on the size of your solution, depending on the complexity of your workflows, that's subject to change. And testing, we have penciled in for a 2-week window, but that as well is subject to change depending on your availability. And we do have weekly check-ins for that testing period, just to make sure everything is exactly how you want it. And we do offer any assistance if you do run into any sort of hiccups or bottlenecks during that testing period. But at the bottom is just an example of what a schedule could potentially look like, planned start, planned finish dates, as well as what resource you might have for any certain need. But on the next slide, we're going to go through how is an upgrade going to be successful? How is it going to be a success? Surprise, surprise. Number one is testing. Testing, testing, testing. I've already emphasized this, but testing is extremely important. We want to make sure that everything is running smoothly. We want to make sure that your workflows are working exactly how you want them to. And we don't have, like I said, don't have any hiccups when it's time to go live. But something else that we like to do is working with your end users on those critical workflows. So we talk a lot internally about the 80-20 method, but we do stress that a lot during this upgrade testing as well. We want to make sure your critical workflows, the ones that are most important to your business, we start with that, and we make sure those are running smoothly. And then obviously we just go down the line until testing is complete. But we do want to make big emphasis on those workflows that matter the most to you, that make the biggest difference in your day-to-day work. So, but I am going to pass it over to Matt to kind of talk through what version you might be on, what version you might need to be on, as well as he's going to touch on some extended support fee topics as well. So, Matt, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Brian, for the overview of our upgrade process. Now that we've kind of got a handle on that, we're going to take a look at how often we should be upgrading. There's been some kind of changes in policies around, how often versions are released and kind of the impacts around how often enhancements are made to those. So we just wanted to highlight some of that and share some of that information with you guys as well. So right here, we have this diagram of an OnBase version lifecycle, and we'll talk about some of the specifics here. But just worth noting that Highland's committed to creating and supporting products that the customers use to accomplish their goals and business processes. And over time, particular versions can be incapable of supporting latest file types, operating systems, or browsers that continue to advance. We talked about that earlier about compatibility. At the same time, Highland is always evolving, enhancing some of in the OnBase suite as well. So to keep these advancements in a particular, so to keep up with these advancements, a particular version of OnBase has a 3-year life cycle. And it can be supported indefinitely. However, you might not see some of those enhancements. So we have this diagram to kind of demonstrate an OnBase's full version life cycle. The first phase of the life cycle is called active servicing. So for 2 years after the initial release, each version receives security improvements and defect corrections. After 2 years, the version is effectively retired and no more enhancements are made. Once a version is available for 3 years, it actually extends into the extended support program. So with that, there's a fee of 25% of your maintenance or subscription amount should your version mature into this program. If you have a renewal date on or after the maturity date, you're going to see the fee applied. But at Naviant, our goal is to alert you to these dates and ensure that your version of OnBase does not mature into the program. Should we get close, though, we're able to have the fee waived. We just need to have an upgrade project in flight before the renewal paperwork is processed. So we can have that 25% fee waived from your renewal altogether. I can certainly share out this diagram, but it just kind of shows, around when releases are made generally available, that kind of active servicing, that 2 years, and when to expect something to go into extended support. Again, we can make this available to you for review as well. We've used the term planning quite a bit throughout this presentation, and one of the tools that we've developed is a custom upgrade cadence document, which virtually looks just like this, but custom to our customers here. So using that diagram from the previous slide, we can have a short conversation with you to kind of map out when your next couple of upgrades should be, because each version, looking at this, we know that each version is kind of subject to a release date. We have our asterisks there to demonstrate that. But Highland has mentioned that they're committed to releasing versions in Q1 now. 24.1 was the first to be released in Q1, and that was February of this year. And just looking at the diagram itself, in this example, we have a customer who is on 22.1 who renews in July each year. So they wanted to know when their next upgrade should be. The extended support fee was a consideration in this conversation that we had. And you can see their next renewal is in July 1st, 2025, which is just before 22.1 goes into extended support. So for their 25-26 renewal, they won't incur that fee. However, looking ahead, if they were to stay on 22.1, that July 2026 renewal, the extended support fee is going to apply. So we've highlighted that. So really what that means, and through the conversation we had with the customer, they're not going to be able to do an upgrade through the end of 2024, but they would consider one starting in 2025. And really from 2025 through the first 3 quarters of 2026 is when they can get that upgrade done in order to avoid the extended support fee. And really for them, that kind of allows 25.1 to be released in February of next year, allows it to kind of stabilize itself, and maybe they look at a summer upgrade to get to a stable version of 25.1. So that really gives them a lot of flexibility in when they can upgrade. And again, please, work with your CSA, your account manager. We can have this conversation with you and really document what it looks like for you to upgrade or do your next couple of upgrades. We look forward to having those conversations with you guys. With that, we're going to share a little bit about what's new and exciting in the world of OnBase over the last couple of versions. So really with these, they are available. There are some enhancements or new product functionality that's occurred since 2021, version 2021, really, because that's kind of what most of our customers are on currently. So by upgrading to one of the later versions, you're going to be able to unlock some of these functionality. The first one being OnBase App Builder. Really, App Builder is kind of a new way of shaping solution interfaces and user experiences. It's a completely new look and feel to OnBase using web-based tiles and navigation screens. And here's what it looks like. So this is OnBase App Builder and kind of more of like a dashboard style layout with kind of quick overview and access shortcuts to a lot of your most used actions. If you can think about what the Unity client looks like, you certainly have those quick tile access tiles. And then you have the ribbon with all the functionality as well. And that can be a little bit overwhelming when all you need to do is retrieve documents or go into a workflow and hit approve or reject. So this UI has really simplified the user experience here. It's fully customizable to your business, so you can use different language within your organization to make these tiles. This is all still OnBase, but it's just a different look and feel, and hopefully streamlines your ability to do your job. I will pass over to Brian to highlight one of the next features.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And I do just want to touch on something quickly on App Builder. I actually recently set up one of our customers. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to start using App Builder, but I don't know how to get started. Could you help me out?" And we have a few App Builder experts here at Naviant. So if you ever do need help or want help on it, just reach out to your CSA or account manager, and we can point you in the right direction and help you get set up with any of these. But I'm going to quickly go through the Outlook web add-in. So long story short is exactly what it says on the slide. You can import emails and attachments into OnBase directly from your web-based Outlook. There is a chance that Outlook does eventually go to an almost or fully web-based direction. So this could be an even more important tool than it already is if that comes to fruition. But if we go to the next slide, you're going to be able to see how user-friendly this import tool is. So here you can see the Outlook web add-in being accessed from the context menu in the Outlook web app in the browser. So just like I said, super user-friendly and just one click to get that invoice imported into OnBase and potentially into a workflow that they have set up for invoices. But I'll pass it back to Matt to talk about
The OnBase admin portal. So I think we've had a few themes running through this presentation today: testing, planning, and web-based. So the OnBase admin portal is a web-based interface for configuring frequently accessed OnBase configuration options. So this was actually introduced in 2022.1. And like I mentioned, it's frequently accessed configuration options. Highland actually looked at a lot of the cloud customers that they work with and developed this portal, based on actual user data and whatnot to generate this quick access for studio configuration, things of that nature. We move on here, and this kind of just shows you some of the different configuration items that you can make. 22.1, it kind of started out with just user administration, user group administration, document types, keyword types, things of that nature. We've moved forward a little bit into the 23.1 release. You're doing a lot more stuff with product rights, configuration rights, working with keyword type groups, doc type groups, file formats. So it's really coming along and advancing. So I think people should be pretty excited about this one, that you don't necessarily need the OnBase configuration anymore, and you can do it all from this web-based portal. Here's just a screenshot of what it looks like. You can see all the different options that you have here, and they got a really cool feature of doing a view history. So you can take a look at all the different configuration changes that have been made for this particular keyword setting and other items. With that, we'll wrap it up. Brian, sharing a little bit more about the web server.
Yeah, so lastly, I'm going to go over the OnBase Web Server. So on this next slide, you're going to see a history of our web server release highlights as we slowly but surely work to move more off the thick and more off the Unity client features to our browser-based web client interface. So as we continue to get newer and newer versions, we get closer and closer to being able to perform more capabilities within the OnBase web client with less dependability on the OnBase Unity client and the OnBase thick client. So for the sake of time, I will not go through all the changes and enhancements we've made, since we only have a couple minutes here, but I will quickly let everyone know on a ton of work that's done with native PDFs that's been done in these upgrades. So I know you can click on links that'll open up a new tab. You can click on the link in the PDF within OnBase and it'll open up a new tab outside of OnBase. I know scanned batches that were only previously used in the thick client are now available, as well as improved text report viewer features in the web client. But if you do want to know any other features, any other enhancements, feel free to reach out. We have endless information on what's been done on these upgrades, so we'd be happy to talk more about that. But we're going to transition into some links that we have, just helpful tips and trick links, tools, resources, what's new. So we'll copy and paste these links into the chat now as well.
Thank you. And now we'll pause here just to see if any questions come through. We can either answer them now or take them offline and follow up with anyone as well. Wait for those to roll in. But as we wait for those, just wanted to say thank you. We appreciate everyone joining today. We look forward to helping you on your next upgrade, just having conversations with you on, planning and, getting you set up for success in your future move to the latest and greatest OnBase version. Thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.